what I'm really interested in is bridging the gap between the practical and the spiritual. So when you say, what are like some practices that people can do, it's like life is the practice. What we say is that the paradise on the path of self-mastery is the cultivated ability to choose how life works for you, and that there aren't any rules. So for someone watching this who's curious about spirituality or bringing spirituality into their life, I would say look at the things that feel hard. Look at the things that feel hard and ask, how are they calling you to your greatness?
We have with us a woman who have been studying what it means to be human for over a decade. She has a BA in comparative religion, a life coaching certification, and multiple trainings and certifications around leadership, bioenergetics, holding sacred space, conscious business, priestess initiations, and high performance.
My older son had a really intense season of suicidal ideation. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, when he was 9, he's 10 now. He's doing a lot better, and I love that. But that's what it made me think of. Is like he really needed everything I had to give, right? And as a parent who's dealing with that, it's like it stretched my capacity so much. Like, how do I navigate this with all of the things that I know to be true?
Today, we are going to have a liftoff experience with Jemini Wild. She will discuss her thoughts about how to make sense of pain, how to deal with suicidal ideations, what gives our lives meaning, what creates lasting change and fulfillment, how do we blend the spiritual and the material realms into something that's cohesive and applicable to everyday life. She knows that there's a deep well of wisdom available to each of us, a well that's unique and universal.
Yeah, legacy. I love that word, and something that's really like integrated into my legacy, but that is important for me to live into, is to leave people better than I found them. And
Amen.
That is like one interaction at a time.
Take us. Where are we going?
All right. Big breath in through the nose. And on the exhale, sealing the eyes closed. Just starting to slow everything down. Letting the eyelids be heavy. Allowing the breath to lengthen and deepen. Mentally pressing pause on the outside world. Letting everything that came before and everything that may come after just dissolve. And allowing yourself to fully arrive. Mind, body, and presence to this moment. Acknowledging that no one is requiring anything of you. No one is asking you to do or be anything. There's nothing to reach for, and nothing to perform. Setting down all of your worry, all of your responsibility, all of your to-do, knowing you can pick it back up later if you need to. But for right now, just setting it all down. Exhale all the air out of your lungs. And Inhale all the way up, 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 and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. And again, inhaling all the way up, 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 and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Last one. Inhaling all the way up, 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 and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it go. And stacking both hands over the heart, one on top of the other, applying a slight pressure and inwardly saying, I am here, I am now, I am free. Release your hands, bring a smile to your face, and when you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes.
Well, hello.
Hello, Norman.
I love that. I love that. And man, what an intro. And that's exactly. It's funny because we had Ryan on the show, so I employ or I bless everyone to go take a gander, go watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how we got connected.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not many words that I can explain why. And I know that you kind of were asking me some questions and whatnot. There was just like a gravitational pull.
Yeah, we're running on Instagram and vibes right now.
100%.
Which is amazing.
100%.
What comes up.
Me too, because life is, it's a blessing. It's amazing. And these moments are like, it's becoming one of the moments that I really enjoy the most right now.
Mm.
And it's such a blessing to be able to get into someone's life as yours. And we talked a little bit before getting on air about who the heck I am and some of the things I have going on and what have you. And I'm sure we'll get more into that a little bit in our show as well. And it's just nice to meet someone new and to pour into those that want to take this journey with us on our experience today. And I'm excited to hear your liftoff moments, get into your world and your modalities and what you're up to. But how's your morning?
My morning is really good, and thank you for presencing that. I have a lot of energy to share with you, and I'm excited to hear your stories as well. I asked for time to connect with you before, and you said, no, we're doing it live. We're going to get to know each other live.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that a teaching that I carry with me is that healing happens in dialogue.
Amen.
And pain and suffering happens in monologue. So I have a lot of respect, and I'm really impressed by the space that you're holding and what you're creating. I think there's a lot of medicine available in it.
I really appreciate that. And that it hits me deeply because it's something that 400 and some episodes later, and you may see that we're still in the same studio for Real Estate First Technology. And we have the signs coming, and the team, Go Editing team, thanks so much, Liftoff, for sponsoring and for the resources and what have you to give us the opportunity to leverage our editors, right, to make this as beautiful as we can for our viewers. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're just listening to it, then you don't have to worry about that. And yeah, it's beautiful. Definitely beautiful.
I love that you bring up the aesthetics because I actually really thought about my outfit.
Yeah, I could tell. I like it.
Because
I like
the
it.
hairs are dark blue. I was like, I don't want to blend in.
I like that. Yeah, I wanted to go into the vibe, just like the Hawaiian, just chill vibe.
Yeah.
And just relax and enjoy. I'm always the suit and bow tie with the suspenders guy, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. That's I guess the Mr. Liftoff vibe, but it's nice to just chill.
Relax. Yeah.
For sure. After cleaners are being here and all the things, and I love how we started the show too, because it's nice because I think that a lot of people can can relate to the fact that like when you're under time crunches, or you have to be somewhere, or it's traffic, or it's bills, or it's a new interview, or you're meeting, you're going on a first date. It's so like it's nice just sometimes, like I can imagine anyone could just go back to what you just did, just to be able to like
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
breathe.
ground it out.
Yeah.
You know what actually is funny that you just said grounded out? I have a grounding mat right there. I'm thinking as we grow this show, man, I'm gonna get some kick up recliners, and then like get the grounding mats on them, and we could all ground. Even you
Love
too
that.
back there.
I
Actually, you
like
can
that.
ground right now, Jacob, if you want.
Where's?
It's right there. Just take off those socks and put
Oh,
your feet
hell
on that
yeah.
mat. Dude, you're good.
I'll be going feet first.
Or you can get a massage, whatever you want. All right, for sure. So, man, you're doing these different spiritual teachings and practices and what have you. And I'm curious to like, because before we got on, you asked me a little bit about like how I got into the spiritual kind of awakening practices, whatever the case may be, as far as how you want to label it. What made you get into this world of your existence? Has it always been? Is it from family, or is this new? Or I'm
Uh,
curious.
Thank you for the question. And yeah, what I was asking you about was interest. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that it really came online for me when I changed my course of study. I was going to school for law. I wanted to be a lawyer. And I got through a year of that and transferred schools. I was going to school in Germany. I transferred to ASU, and I arrived late in the semester and
Wow.
ended up just picking a like humanities course because it was available, and it was world religions. And within a week I had changed my major. I was like, this is what I want to
That's
study.
big.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a huge change. And I mean, being a lawyer was the traditional path to success and stability and financial well-being. And as far as everyone around me was concerned, like the embodiment of my potential.
Mm.
So it was a big jump, but I felt it within my system just how fascinating it was
Mm.
to be able to learn about it and study it from an academic perspective.
How well received was that with the ones around you? Like your mom, dad,
It wasn't. Well, and so it was just my mom.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, similar ish background as you in the father area.
Mm.
So it was more like I was the first person to go to college on both sides of my lineage. My biological dad went to school through 8th grade, and my mom went through high school.
Ah.
So I had a lot of pressure as far as that goes, and being like a first generation scholarship recipient,
Mm.
and a lot of questions around like, well, what are you going to do with that? And that
Mm.
haunted me for many years. What are you going to do with a religious studies degree? And I really had no idea.
Yeah.
But now, all these years later, it just makes so much sense.
I love that. I love that. I think, the reason why I asked that is I can imagine there's people listening that are like maybe going through the process of trying to figure it out,
Choices.
and they have choices.
Yeah. And how we make decisions. And what I would add to that is it's so empowering when we do it from an internal space
Mm.
rather than trying to get external validation. And for me, that voice, I think that's a gift that I've had in my life, has always been really loud.
Hmm. I love that. It reminds me of like when you really find your calling, like, we have bills, we have to
Yes,
pay for things, right? And there's
we
this
do.
construct that we live in, whether there's pressures from socialism to be predicated subject to the fact that we have to trade our time for money or whatever the case may be. And so I feel that it's very empowering and powerful that you and I, Jake included, and to serve those that maybe are thinking what is next for them, to then find something that calls them from deep inside. Because then if that comes to, then it's like you just exist and you love, and it just is, and there's not work. It's not yeah, the little stresses come up and things happen and whatever else, but it just feels so, for me, organic.
Yeah. Um, I think something that's so funny and that I keep close to me at this stage of my journey is that
Mm.
there's a fine line between being an entrepreneur and being unemployed, and
Ah.
and that's I think that's accurate. And part of it is the ability to learn how to work through the challenge, you know, and the guiding light in my life is a deathbed lens. Like, how am I going to feel when I arrive at the end of my life? And the way that that translates is it's like almost impossible for me to spend time doing anything that doesn't feel valuable.
Amen.
Yeah.
100%. I feel life in the sense of like accomplishments ties in for me legacy, and legacy is how many people you can impact. And I feel that when you have a sense of power about your inner being, that I feel that I have personally, it's my duty and responsibility to
Yeah.
share that with as many as people as possible, because I'm not going to have this forever. But when I do have it, if I can just help that one, two, three, whatever, individuals, and just like, from our show today, we can help some people and get them on a path that maybe they weren't going to go on because of the social norms or pressure from maybe parents, right? Or maybe their loved ones that wants what's best for them. And I've heard it many times on Real Estate First Technology, is that, we think that we need to please others, but what about ourselves?
That, and we aren't taught. Like education is something I'm really passionate about, and we just aren't taught how to orient ourselves or how to listen to our own. We aren't asked questions, right? Like, we're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up versus who do you want to be? How do you want to make a difference? These kinds
Wow.
of things.
I love that. I never even, interesting. I'm just thinking to myself about like my daughter and like how I could be asking those questions. Not so much what she wants to be when she grows up, but more so like, how do you want to show up? And like the one thing that I say, I don't think I've ever said this publicly. I told some people whatever, but before she goes to bed, I said, whatever your mind can conceive, believe, and feel, it can achieve. And one day you're going to help millions of people. I said it every single night. And it's a quote from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I just took and feel, because you have to have emotion and feelings behind whatever the thought process is to then be able to manifest or to achieve whatever it is that you wish. But I love that. I love that question.
Yeah, it brings into question our own parenting styles, right? I have two boys, 10 and 6, and so I can resonate a lot with being aware of what I'm passing on to them. And the challenge, I think, with that is that we're human.
Yeah.
We aren't going to be perfect at it, and we're going through our own wild journeys while trying to help them navigate theirs.
Yeah.
And it's not about being perfect, right? It's just
no. No, I the other day, for the parents out there, what did I say? Oh, all right, let's just go there. So over the weekend, I had a nervous breakdown, and there's something I would look at as like development leaps. And so as I've been taking on more responsibilities and working on where it is that I wish to go, I have to be at a different place in this body, in this construct in my mind, and nervous system has to be able to take on a certain amount of stressors that isn't normally what we are, maybe I guess you could say, started out with. Like where we start isn't where we're going to end. And so over the weekend, a lot of pressure. Wife's going out of town. She has this self-development, self-loving Sedona retreat with her stepmother. So she actually just called, FaceTime me, and she's like, I'll try to give you a call. If you could FaceTime, cool. If you can't, no worries. So I'm going to be giving her a call back after. And then my daughter's birthday, all these things are coming up. And sometimes my wife and I are working on like the less of talking at you and the more of like talking to you, right? And there's certain things, and I'm an affirmations person, so certain things are like a trigger. And I'm Italian Romanian, and I used to have a little bit of blow up issue as a child, and my mom used to just make fun of me, and just my brother and mom would just poke, and that's for another story. And so that all transpired. Daughter started crying. It was in the car that I had the blow up, and I had just got my new bracelet, and so $90 later I broke it because I hit my arm down, and I was quick to take responsibility, and my wife worked it out, and everything was fine. And then now Pop, and this is going to be my wife's stepmother, who she's with in Sedona. This is Co. So Co, Grandy, and Pop are going out to dinner with my wife and my daughter. And I'm getting some pictures taken for my liftoff truck because I just took off some stickers and I'm going to be selling that and getting my next experience, if you will.
And my daughter tells Pop Pop and Grandy about how Daddy blew up in the car and broke his $1,000 bracelet. She's so cute and all the things. And so I forgot as a parent that she's 5. She's not 6, she's 5. And even if she's 6, she's still very young. So she hasn't, her brain hasn't developed to a point where she understands. So there's a difference between reprimanding and teaching. So
Yeah.
I came from the place of reprimanding her. And then she got upset. She started crying to mom. And then my wife was like, well, Norm, like, she doesn't understand. She doesn't get that. And so I had to, okay, wait, slow down. A teacher, I feel like she's like a teenager already because she acts like a teenager. I'm a teacher, but she's not. And, conceptualizing for parents out there, you have to slow down and you have to take that approach of understanding that you have to teach them the things first so they understand that, like, hey, mommy, daddy already worked everything out. Telling Grandy and Pop Pop isn't really going to help anything. Like, it's first time driving in the new car, and that was a new memory that she had. And so that came up, and it was just like, oh man, all right, now I gotta have a conversation with Pop Pop and Grandy now. And I still haven't had that conversation yet, but that's just something that's just like a trigger that came off my brain that I wanted to just put that out there because I love taking ownership for who I am and for what I do because I'm not perfect and I understand that. So I have to just be honest and open with myself and lead by example for anyone who's potentially wanting to lead by example themselves. But yeah, so that happened.
Thank you for sharing that story. And what I would offer is one, a witness, like
Appreciate that.
witnessed, heard, for the awareness and the taking responsibility and wanting to understand yourself and wanting to be a good role model, a good partner, a good father. That's what I hear in that, and still like take care of yourself. And the other thing that I would offer is a lot of compassion and our like the way that I think of the emotional scale isn't on a vertical axis. I think about it on a horizontal axis, right? Like, have you seen the scale of consciousness where it's like anger, fear, shame down here, and love, unity, generosity, all of the things up at the top? It makes more sense to me to have it horizontal. And so then all of our emotions are on an equal playing field and they're really indicators, right? Like they're letting us know something that needs our attention. I had a really intense season with anger and like studying it and studying my own anger. I broke our front door once. I slammed it so hard that
Oh
the
wow.
jam locked. I haven't thought about this in forever. And we had to go get a new doorknob. And I woke up my son because I locked myself out of the house because I couldn't get the door open. It was really intense. Um, and I think that like anger is a big teacher, a really big teacher. And the undercurrent in my observation of anger is pain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Very, very interesting. Yeah, when that happened, it took me straight back to the pain that I felt and the views and the things that I was subject to from my stepfather,
Yeah.
and what my stepfather did to whether it's pinning down my mom and physically abusing her and doing the things that he did that really brought me back. And I was just like, it was almost like a whoa, like an Ingram moment of time where I was just like, what am I committed to? Because now I'm yelling and screaming and doing the things that I'm doing. And then, my wife proceeded to like exit the vehicle, and then daughter's crying. I want mommy. And then I was like, okay, let me just here, so they walked for just a couple seconds. And then I was like, okay, you're safe, you're sound. Let's just get home. Like, it's fine. I just had a moment. And then we worked it out, and it was just like, whoa, like, man, you think you're done with that, but it came back.
I have two things to share about that. Thank you.
Of
Thank you for
course.
that.
You're
The
welcome.
first one is that have you heard the teaching that says trauma that happens in relationship has to be healed in relationship? And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily like have to be partnership. It doesn't have to mirror exactly the relationship that the harm happened in. I don't really like the word trauma either, but you know what I mean. People
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about when I say that. And then the other thing is so like an opportunity for healing rather than like, oh my gosh, this came back. It's like, oh, okay, like I can work through this. I have the wherewithal and the capacity and the language and the ability and the capacity to make amends and create beauty out of this. And then it brings all of that energy from the childhood experiences. And then the other, I see this a lot in my work, is this expectation that because we have dealt with something, that means it doesn't come up again. And that when it does come up again, it means that we have somehow failed in our healing. And the way that I observe it, the way that I interact with it, is we have these threads that run throughout our experience that make our suffering specific. And I'm halfway through my life, hopefully, maybe a quarter of the way. I don't know.
There you go, quarter.
But, so I don't know how it will be as it continues to unfold, but
Yeah.
that these threads are really specific and therefore our evolution and our development. And so when we rub against something that we feel like we've worked through before, or like I already did that, then it's an invitation to get really curious, which you're really good at.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, curious George.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so being curious about it instead of self-deprecating, and like, okay, what is this at this stage? What is this showing me about myself, and using it as a portal for self-discovery. And it's like our goal, our intention, our drive isn't ever to be perfect. It's to be in the full experience of being human. And so if there's a moment where we lose our temper, or we don't perform in the way that feels in integrity or in alignment, then it's an opportunity, right? It's a call to greatness.
Amen. I have to do this. We have a liftoff moment. I had
that sound.
That was so interesting. Jake did that. Hey, Jake, we finally did the liftoff moment. That was supposed to be a rocket ship liftoff moment for. It does the rocket sound, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like whoa.
Dude, a whole freaking room shaked. It's interesting. What just came up for me was two things, and this is crazy because we're doing this publicly. Being vulnerable,
very brave, yes.
Being extremely open to the world. And the first thing is that I have past traumas that even though I accepted, they're still there. And from a subconscious level, engrammed into my being, I still have work to do to like move past that within this time and space. And the next thing that comes up for me is that a breakthrough moment where I feel that from a leadership standpoint, I feel that the best way to lead is with love, vulnerability, being open, being honest. And this for me is the best way to be the best authentic leader as I possibly can. Because I feel that you see in the entrepreneur world a lot of individuals that speak from a third party perspective. Whether it's a book they read or something that they went through, or there's a time and space, something happened, instead of feeling in the moment in that space, to then be open and vulnerable to everyone. So people could really see that like this is real. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, that was something that originally was a point of resonance when you sent me that message on Instagram, like this idea. And my response was, okay, this sounds vulnerable. I'm here for the vulnerability. And we do, keep our discomfort and our shame and our anger and our trauma behind closed doors.
Amen.
So it's so brave, and again, just so impressed.
I really appreciate that. And it's interesting. My wife's on her journey right now with the self-healing, and I want to employ individuals to understand that it's every single day.
Yes.
It's not an event or a video you watched or something. It is from a perspective that it can trigger the response to then bring you back to something that you need to work on. And it's every single day that, like, for me, I'm tired, feed into it. I want to push into that tiredness and be like, okay, how much further can I push myself? Last night I'm tired. Daughter has her little party. It's 5 to 7. We get there at 5:30. She has to have dinner. It's great cause, raising money, the whole nine. for the school, and I'm just like, oh. Then I come back and I'm like, oh, I have some stuff for the team. They're in the Philippines. They work until like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And using my partner, shout out Smith, co-founder of Liftoff Agent. He's freaking awesome. He's the yin to my yang. He's nothing like me at all. And you don't see him online or anything. And, but he believes in me. So I appreciate you, Smith, and also the whole team. And so it was just like, I'm tired. But then I got back and then I got to some stuff I needed to get done. And then like I had like this second win. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's keep going. But then, 8 o'clock, wife's calling. Jordan has to go to bed. All the things, right? Life happens. And so I went to sleep and here we are. But
Yeah, the thing that stands out, well, there's two things. One, the thing that lands in my system when you say, like, I still have stuff that I need to move past. My offer for that would be, like, what if it's about integrating? Right? What if it's not like compartmentalized over here, this thing that that happened to me or for me or whatever, that I have to overcome, but it's more like, how can I integrate that into my being so that it becomes an expression of my brilliance? Because again, with the witnessing, right? Like being able to hold the capacity, the fullness of our life experience. And then what you said around it's every day. The way that lands for me is ongoing spiritual experience. Like all day, every day, personal and spiritual development, not because it's a chore, but because the self-actualized person must become what they can be. That's Abraham Maslow. Yeah.
Ooh, that's really good. That's
like we have to, right? Like
yes. Amen. Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And I feel that ever since forever, especially more so on the business side, whether it's Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad Poor Dad or The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and all these things in regards to like, what is this? I look at like the life of like life is like a game, and like I used to play Grand Theft Auto 5 and like that was my jam. And my friend got a cheat code and he's online with all his money. I could do what he was doing, but in my real life it was like, oh man, like I feel like all this stuff is I just want to go deeper into what's happening in real life. And that's where I feel like it's just every day. And I love always challenging myself to think, how can I grow a little bit further? How can I show up a little bit better? How can I be able to serve? And this is the journey that I'm on right now. Is how can I serve millions of people? Where's my lane? And I remember my wife, she was on a run. And when she's on a run, she has her like
downloads.
And then she has these moments. She's like, wow. And then that's when she told me, and we talked a little bit about this before we got on the air, that she's seen me as someone who is going to take the entrepreneur corporate world that I have deeply surrounded myself in for like 10 years, and the spiritual side, and there's this going to be this integration of sorts, and this could be it could be the process of the evolution with this podcast of how it's going to unfold. But I'm just so, more than anything, grateful to like be on the journey with everyone who's watching, and now you're a part of it.
Thankful to be a part of it. And it's so needed. There's so much a gap between the practical and the spiritual, our heads and our hearts, business, and I mean, integrity is the word that's coming to mind. Obviously not in a room with you, but it's like in our leadership, on a large scale and a small scale is lacking, so there's
Amen.
A lot of opportunity for those who feel called, and to step forward and participate. Like what you were saying about duty, I resonate with that a lot. Like we have a moral obligation. If we notice something in the world that doesn't make sense, it doesn't mean we have to do the whole part, but we have to do our part.
I love that. 100%. And I just want to give you guys a lift-off moment. Look, I could turn this down so it's not so loud. It was a little loud before. Here's a lift-off moment for you all to take in consideration. This isn't just my truth or my journey. It's our journey. So if you have any inclination or a calling where you resonate with what we're saying, or what I'm saying, and what have you, like, explore.
Yes.
I want to just explore. Right? Because I feel like the one thing that has came up over me over the years is that there's a separation from Mark Zuckerberg and me, or there's a separation from Elon Musk and me. There's a separation from these moguls, if you will, and they have some type of answers, or there's some type of, person that, that's different. We're all the same. There is no difference. There's no separation. They've just done certain activities to get to where they're at. And then, it's like, congratulations. Like, that's absolutely phenomenal. And I just want to make sure everyone understands, like, because I've dealt with this, like, you're no less than.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that I observe that is it's called interiority. So rather than having like where we put people on pedestals and we call it superiority, right? Like, and if we think this is a hard truth sometimes, if we think that other people are better than us, then it also means we think that we are better than other people, which is really heavy to carry,
Whoa.
and and more just being in a place of like shoulder to shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah, we all, it's like we all have our part, and if you're called to leadership, then there's the people that are there for you to lead, but maybe someone who is leading you in this area is, going to lead you in a different area.
I love that. I love that. And can we just acknowledge, I love the way that you navigate your, how you receive, and then the way that you acknowledge what has been received, and then the way that you come back with the way that you explain.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Norman.
Yes, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show too, because I feel like your voice and your knowing and what you have to offer like the world needs to be like poured rocket fuel on it.
Amplified.
Amplified.
Let's do it.
Why do you have a rocket, by the way? What was the story behind your rocket?
I just was ready. I mean, I've had it for a couple of years, and I went with my sister. We wanted to get tattoos, and I just wanted something small that was not like a big time investment. And I think I'd always wanted a rocket ship tattoo. The symbolism of it really calls to me. And there's something about like what I've been thinking about leading up to this experience is like liftoff as a lifestyle.
Yes. And who would have thought that you'd be sitting here?
I know, written in the stars in front of a rocket ship.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I'm just going to get this small tattoo. No big deal. It's going to be a rocket ship now, because I'm going to be on this Liftoff Experience podcast, and it's a rocket ship on the ground. And I also have a rocket ship myself. And hey, Jake, behind the scenes over there, I love you, bro. How are you doing?
I love you. I'm doing great.
You doing great?
I'm doing great.
You get your massage now over there?
No, I just have my feet in it because they're cold and it's like warm, but the massage thing isn't on.
I just want to let you know I was thinking about you back there, bro.
Thank you, bro. I'm thinking about you always.
I'm wondering how your experience is of all of this.
Yeah.
It's always amazing. Like, I love these kind of conversations. I love that I feel so grateful that I get to be a part of them and just be in the room with like some amazing people like pretty much weekly.
I love that. I love that. He was expressing gratitude. You could see him behind the scenes. He can give you the camera angle. We're working on his microphone next because. Do you?
Yeah, so they could hear my mic.
Success.
Yes. Yes. Liftoff moment. I love that. I love that. Awesome. So I've been here for 4 years, Arizona. You lived here your whole life, or you said you came here to ASU, so you were coming here for studies.
Yeah, I came in the early 2000s. I went to school and then I left and then I came back. And this round I've been here for 12 years.
Why? Why Arizona? What calls you here?
I just love the desert. I love it. I love it. I moved around a lot when I was growing up. I was born in Georgia, and by the time I was 13, I had lived in like, I don't know, 10 different states, 8 different states, something like that. I moved a lot.
Okay.
And when I landed here, it just felt like home. And I live in Phoenix. I love Phoenix. I love the community. I love the opportunity. I tried going back to the Midwest and it did not sit well.
No.
No.
Yeah, there's something about the energy of Arizona, and just I came here 2000, I think it was like 2008, 2009. I had a friend of mine that was moving back here, and they had a place, his parents in Scottsdale, and their parents were renting out their house to like Britney Spears, and like it was a dope house, negative edge pool, 3 stories, the whole nine. I was just so enamored, and his friends were like doing commercial real estate and doing all these things. and I had a calling, and who would have thought that fast forward, my wife already had her mom here. She was born in Tucson, and then I eventually talked her into it after I showed her we can get out of a condo, we can actually into a house, and now
A
it's like
really beautiful house.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. I put a lot of time and energy and attention into
It shows.
the intention of the way that you feel when you come here, and we want everyone to feel like it's home.
Yep.
But yeah, I showed her Zillow, and she's like, okay, I'm sold. And then it's been such a blessing with the opportunities that we've had to be able to do some house hacking and whatnot, and help her grow her business and what have you. So it's been great. And Arizona is definitely, if anyone who's listening to you hasn't been to Arizona, like, come check it out.
Definitely come check it out.
Every time we
The
leave,
winter.
the
Not in
winter.
summer.
Well, people come in the summer, they're like, oh, it's so hot all the time, blah, blah. Like, keep thinking that. You can go, you don't have to come back. But those that want to explore to go in the winter, like 6.5, 7 months, it's beautiful.
Amazing.
You
Yeah.
just got to get through the other part of it. But yeah, I feel like the energy is different here. People are nice, they wave, it's super chill. There are some interesting drivers. They drive a little crazy, even more crazy in California.
Somebody gave me a theory about that, and they said that it's because there's drivers from California and then drivers in the Midwest, both in Arizona. So it's like
Oh.
it just doesn't gel well.
I could see that because I remember I first was driving on the freeways and I saw like attorney, accident, this, that. I'm like, why are there so many? I guess like getting rear-ended is a thing here. Like that's super popular. I was like,
I didn't know that.
I was like, what the hell? And for some reason, there's I don't know what it is. I feel like there needs to be some like energy clearing. But if you go down baseline and you go down to Wrecker, and for some reason, Wrecker is like a hot spot. Like there's multiple accidents, multiple anomalies, like
Mm,
people dying there, like
mm.
crazy interesting. Like I remember this one time this guy was just like stopped in the middle of the road. I was about to plow into him and I had to like swerve out of the way. And I actually I'm not proud of this, but I took my uncle out, just did a quick little pull in the GTR 0 to 95 and a 45. But long story short, he pulled me over like 2 doors from my house, and daughter's coming out, and he's shouting at me, and I took complete ownership, and
Was it worth it?
no ticket or anything ever came, and it was 100% worth it.
There you go.
100%. I was like, you like my uncle, but like the younger version. So honest, so blunt. It was cute. But he had no internet service and he couldn't write me the ticket right there. So he's like, all right, well, I'm going to write the ticket. You go to the judge and tell him what you did. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you have to write me for something. So like, bookends on that. Nothing ever happened. But yeah, definitely that area is weird.
Interesting. Interesting that it's coming up in this conversation.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know.
There's something that has to be cleared or something that maybe happened or it's a portal. Clear it out. Get some shades. Shade. Can't even say it.
Sage.
Yeah, sage. Oh my god. So awesome. So Phoenix, huh? Phoenix is yeah. Phoenix is huge.
Yeah, it is. It's a jam.
Yeah. That's awesome. Are you closer to like downtown or
I live in North Phoenix.
North Phoenix?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 32nd Street and Union Hills.
Nice. Yeah, we wanted to. Speaking of YouTube and like where to live, watch some guys show me all the areas on YouTube,
Oh, cool.
kind of integrated into Liftoff, but passive
That-
prospecting and stuff like that.
That would be a really good thing for Phoenix because it's like one block is amazing and beautiful, and then the next block is like, whoa.
Yeah, and you need to know that if you want to
Yeah,
buy or
totally.
sell, and you want to relocate to Arizona, you need to know what's what and what's going on. But Gilbert, they said Gilbert's like the next Scottsdale, great for millennial families. Like if you want suburbs, like this is a place to be. And it's just been, I mean, amazing. The downtown, they're just doing a bunch of stuff with that right now, so that's going to be awesome. And yeah, it's just awesome town. I love it
Yeah.
here.
Likewise.
Yeah, which is cool. So let's get into a little bit of the practices and what you do. And if anyone's out there who's curious and maybe wants to walk down maybe a little bit of the journeys and the things that you practice, how could they, of course, links down below, they can check you out, follow you on Instagram, what have you. But what is it like so someone can tangibly understand, like, what is it that you do?
What is it that I do?
If you can even say it like that, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's more like, who is it that I be?
Ooh,
know?
okay,
Um,
okay.
There's a lot of different ways to answer that question.
Because this is where I'm coming from. We had Ryan on the show, and he has his men's group,
Yes.
and he said that he does not fucking care whether you join or not,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really care either to monetize it. He knows that there's a greater calling for what he's doing,
Yeah.
and it'll transpire and it'll just organically work itself out, which is beautiful. And I think that that's something where on the you could talk the woo woo side, if someone wants to say that, like the woo side, as far as like spiritual practices, going deeper in like different whether it's esoteric or different ways of looking at, say, spiritual practices outside of your traditional like Bible
Okay.
religious, right? And then like how you monetize that, because like, you know, you have bills to pay and things to do as well, right? And I can imagine this is your full-time,
This is my gig. This is
it's
my
your
life.
gig, it's
Yeah.
your life,
This is
right?
everything. Yeah. Okay. So shout out to Ryan and Middle Finger Mantras. Amazing, amazing brand and amazing human.
Amen.
So inspiring. And so again, with answering it multiple different ways, there's two different ways that people can work with me right now, and it's private coaching, which is 6 weeks of inner wisdom development, and then I have a 12-week, we call it college class meets wisdom tradition, and it's self-mastery skills coursework. Yeah, that'll open on September 18th, and we start on October 2nd. Thank you. This will be my second year running it. Where I really shine is creating containers, and I guess my strategy or strength is my number one strategy. Education is my passion. Inspiration is my compass. And so it works. It looks a lot of different ways. It looks like space holding. I run a meditation teacher training program for a yoga studio here in the Valley, and then one-on-one work. But what I'm really interested in is bridging the gap between the practical and the spiritual. So when you say, what are like some practices that people can do, it's like life is the practice. Like whatever is coming up, like for me, every day is a ceremony. So I'm opening the ceremony of my day. I'm closing the ceremony of my day.
Wow.
And everything that happens in between is symbolic of this relationship between the internal world and the external world. And what we say is that the paradise on the path of self-mastery is the cultivated ability to choose how life works for you, and that there aren't any rules. So for someone watching this who's curious about spirituality or bringing spirituality into their life, I would say look at the things that feel hard. Look at the things that feel hard and ask, how are they calling you to your greatness? Because I fully, it's a couple things. One, we aren't educated on how to navigate our internal world.
Yeah.
So important. We just have no context for it. And then we become adults out in the world trying to like live fulfilling lives, and we're confused why we can't figure it out. And I think a big reason for it is that we weren't taught. So that's a big part of my mission in the world is teaching, like this is how
Beautiful.
you do it. This is available, and there's, a different perspective available, and it isn't about just chasing success metrics. We're told what success means. So actually taking the time to consider, like, what is your definition of success, knowing that it can ebb and flow and change and develop as you do, and then living into it. And, practices are really personal. I mean, I could say, anything from journaling and meditating and going for nature walks, stuff that is really available. Like I don't know if that's really where I shine. Is where I shine is more like, how do we take what you are currently working with and glean the medicine from it so that you are more in your brilliance.
Wow. Okay. So what comes up for me when you just said what you just said is something that I think a lot of individuals deal with from the perspective of like, oh, you have mental issues? Here's your medication. Go see this therapist and go down this road. And I just want to give you all a different perspective that there could be something else out there.
Absolutely.
Maybe someone to my right, your left, depending on how, I don't know what camera, whatever, but that can help go through the process to be able to process what is coming up for us
Yeah, integrate our brilliance, right? I think
Yes.
that we have a really challenging time being able to feel and culturally being able to feel, and a
Mm.
lot of, and something that I see a lot is like suicidal ideation and this fear around it, or like when people aren't okay, what do we do with that? And so often what happens is we just hold it in and
Yes.
pretend like everything's fine, even when we have strong support networks. It's starting to gain momentum where there's places for us to go to be in
Yeah.
conversation like this, which I think is really important. But I'd say just knowing that, like, what if there's purpose in it? We say we don't suffer for the sake of suffering. We suffer so that no suffering is wasted. Don't waste it.
Mm.
Don't waste your suffering. And so things that are like really intense, like suicidal ideation or shame, deep fear, deep regret,
Yes.
all of these kinds of things, is like, don't waste it. Like,
Yes.
glean the medicine from it, see what is here to teach you, and then integrate that and go out and be your brilliant self in the world.
So beautiful. And it reminds me when Ryan and I were talking, and like he had these vices that he would utilize to then run away, whether it was masturbation, porn, what have you, that he would feed into, that then was just like, okay, I'm gonna, have this time of bliss to get away from this time of pain, struggle, what have you. And it's interesting, the concept of like you're flipping it upside down, because majority of
Yeah.
people don't think, as far as from my perspective, that it's beautiful, right? Like people are just like, it's painful, like I'm being made fun of, or I want to kill myself, or I'm dealing with like, do I want to be a man, or do I want to be a woman, or do I want to be non-binary? And like, and I know that like my sibling-in-law, Sevi, who was born male, wants to transition to female, but is non-binary. Or say Melia, who we had on the first episode, just on audio side of the Lift Off Experience podcast, was showing up as Max, but it is Melia. And so there's these pains, or that there's these struggles or anxieties that they face, but they forget. And I love how you said that it's beautiful, it's powerful, it's something that you could use to get to that next space and time of evolution as who you are as a human being. To, I don't know, it's almost like a butterfly,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that butterfly. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it for us? And that is like wisdom that I have bled for.
Mm,
Bled for it.
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's fascinating, but always just asking this question, like, how can we use it? Like, the second part of that, we don't suffer for the sake of suffering. We suffer so that no suffering is wasted. Self-mastery then is playing the
Mm,
hand that we're dealt with elegance, not out of bitterness, but because we
mm,
know that life is benevolent and here for our benefit. So and it has to do with paradigm, it has to do with belief structure. If we really
wow.
believe that life is here for us, and that something greater than ourselves, whatever our connection is to, that is here for us. If we believe in benevolence, because this is like a logic thing for me. Like, I didn't come to earth to just like have a bad time. That was not the vibe. That is not what my creator had in store for me, right?
No.
Um but then we have to actually walk it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to hit this button.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
One small step for man, one large step for mankind. And that was a liftoff moment from the perspective of like, I could see that your modality and something that you have a calling to is to take what is physically, like, from, oh, like, just go see a counselor, you have health insurance, like you need to be on antidepressants, and like the medical system and construct that we have, to then take it into a spiritual practice and to help others maybe awaken or open up or take the veil and be like, oh, there's this other opportunity, more so than what I've been subject to, that is healthy, that can help you live and grow for many, many more years, instead of having more deeper questions, because then the medication causes more complications and what have you. As of to contrast, me helping the entrepreneur that's physically thinking about SOPs and KPIs and income producing activities and just like numbers and construct of like where I need to go. And then maybe they're, drinking and smoking or whatever from that perspective because there's so much pressures, and then they're overweight, and then they're just unhealthy. And there's another way on the spiritual side to then have deeper conversations and deeper meanings. And you don't have to do anything outside of what you have inside you to then feel like whole and amazing and all the things. And so I see that there's a synergetic effect here as far as like, and this was kind of like a catalyst moment for me, as far as your journey and my journey and how they're intertwining at this present moment.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful.
I love that.
That was dope. I hope that you kind of got that. It wasn't over your head, but that was just something that came up for me that I was just like, whoa.
I love that. The way that our journeys are weaving together at this specific point, and what you said about like you have it, you already have the thing within yourself. It's just like one teaching that I love is if you want a bigger vision, get a bigger mirror,
Ooh.
and like being able to be that mirror for people is really a deep honor, and people come to me with just their suffering.
Amen.
And it's really beautiful to witness. And there's so much power in being seen in it exactly as you are without any need to change it. We don't need it to be different.
Yeah.
We need to just observe it.
Yeah.
And feel it and sit with it. And then, right? Like, okay, well, what do I choose?
Interesting. Okay. I want to have some fun for the viewers and listeners out there. And I like to be more intentional from the perspective of like, let's give a gift to our viewers and listeners. And from your teaching and your practices and what you've been doing, and I know that right now we're just going to have to believe, and we're just going to put the energy out there and put the intention and see how this is going to be received. Let's go through a practice together. What's a practice we can go through together from the perspective of someone is dealing with maybe anxiety, someone's dealing with medication. Maybe they want to get off medication, or they're being told they had to be on medication. They don't want to go down that road. They're trying to figure out a practical way to take more ownership and responsibility for maybe their emotions, something that is, there's some trauma, there's something that's holding them, this big weight on their shoulder, and they want to get it off. Just to give some light to a picture. I'm painting a picture here for us, and anyone who's relating to this is going to be for you. And you can add or whatever, and we can play back and forth to set the intention, and then we can, because I don't know what's coming up for you too, but that's what's coming for me.
Well, I think that would speak to a lot of people. Anxiety is like so much a thing, right? Anxiety is so much a thing. And so I would say first, get your feet in the earth. Get your feet in the earth. You have to ground, it's like you have that grounding mat. We have to ground our energetic systems.
Why?
So, because that's what the anxiety is.
Really?
It's just energy. It's just energy that doesn't have a place to go.
So you're telling me it's as simple as just take off your shoes and go out in the grass or go out in the dirt and just put your feet down?
Well, yes, and right.
Okay,
I'm not saying that someone that has debilitating anxiety day in and day out, if you go sit with your feet in the grass, that you're going to immediately feel better. But you will possibly feel a little bit better.
Okay.
A little bit better.
One step
progress,
closer. I love
right?
that. I love that.
And like, what is the journey that you're on? What is this journey about for you? There's so much that goes into the details of it, and so many different reasons that can play into why someone is experiencing mental distress, why they're feeling, disoriented and considering medication. And if that is for you, I'm not here to tell you not to do it. I'm here to tell you to live your life and listen to your own,
Amen.
to your own wisdom. And I would just be really honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself and take your lessons standing up. Yay, Jacob's back with snacks.
Yeah, snacks. Glad to see him eating.
I needed something to eat.
I love that. I love just, take a second, ground yourself out. Disconnecting from technology is very beautiful. We went up to Overgarden for the Labor Day weekend, and very little to no cell signal. That was great. Off the grid, that was great. We took our travel trailer for some off the grid and went on a hike and a run and just being around just the trees and Mother Nature. It was so beautiful.
That frequency.
And that
yeah.
frequency is amazing. And I'm going to give you some contrast because we had, so it's Dad John, which is my wife's father, and he's engaged to Monica. Well, Monica's daughter, Silva, and her husband bought some land, and so that's where we stayed in Overgarden, and so Aaron is his name, and Silva and Aaron like to drink, and which is totally fine if you like to drink and what have you. And I feel that what came up for me from going a little bit deeper in the grounding sense, right? And so if any of you are having that sense of anxiety, one thing that comes up for me is like get more sun, ground, or just get off your phone and just like go be in nature, whether you're in Arizona and you want to go up north, Strawberry Pine Top, or you want to go to Sedona, or, if you're, California, go up to Tahoe. I mean, wherever you are, like go somewhere where you can be around Mother Nature for at least a day. And they were drinking. And it was sad to me, not that they're drinking, that's totally fine, live your life. And they were having a good time. And she deals with psoriasis, and she's also dealing with, and she's like in her 30s, like she's younger than me, deals with psoriasis. And then she's having some issues with her bones with, what happens when you get older? That aches and pain.
Osteoporosis.
Yeah, exactly that. And so it's almost like her body screaming at her, like, hey, because, smoking of cigarettes, drinking of alcohol, lots of stress with work, also marijuana. So, want to say, I'm saying this from the perspective of like, I love her, I love them, they're doing their thing, and that's great. And I'm putting things in perspective for someone who's listening can maybe take this and be like, oh my God, yeah, I have a couple of things come up for me as well. And I felt like what came up for me from Overgarden and the experience, my wife and I were talking about it, was like, Mother Nature is so beautiful and it has so much to offer, and it is a frequency. It's a frequency of calm. And when you drink and you do other things, you're basically almost like putting headphones on because you don't want to hear the birds chirping or the ocean going in and out and what have you, because you're listening to, whatever it is or watching whatever it is. And I think that it's nice to unplug and to just be for a second. And I think that so many of the issues that I think that we're dealing with anxiety and medication, what have you, is just because we're not understanding that there's the matrix, which the matrix is basically the construct of this microphone, this cell phone, these headphones, this plastic container with a drink in it. And what's not the matrix is like the trees and the birds and the dirt and the water and and just all the natural things that are here without all that. So I feel like a good way to just like, go in nature, unplug, get away from it all.
Yeah, I think that always good advice.
Right?
And recognizing that someone who is living a life of consistent drinking, consistent stress, consistent health problems, consistent smoking didn't just wake up and find themselves there. And they also didn't wake up and think, I want to suck today.
No.
Nobody does that. And
No.
so it's like just recognizing that there's a progression. There's a progression that and momentum brings us wherever it is we find ourselves. And often we aren't aware of it. Like the expressions that you're describing, it's like, yeah, nobody's like, hey, I want to suck today.
No.
They're like, hey, I want to, I'm trying. I'm
Right?
trying.
Right. And I think that like our bodies, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. There's a lot of good books. You can check them out. But the body holds on to past traumas and aches and pains and what have you from the perspective of your body. Is your body screaming to you, but it's almost like a newborn child, and the child can't speak to you.
Yeah.
But then innately, that if the baby's crying, it could be like, okay, it needs to be changed. It needs to be fed. It needs to be burped. It needs to be swaddled. Like there's some key things that it needs. And I think that we could take that for an example and be like, okay, my body is trying to tell me something without me being able to understand the construct of English, Spanish, whatever language. Like there's no language here, you know? So it's like, how do you, I don't know, listen to your body and be like, what do you need?
Just like that.
Right?
Just like that. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I think that's another reason why conversations like this are so important because, again, it's not that we don't want to, it's that we don't know. That we just don't know how to do it. We don't know, that thing that happened when we were in third grade is still swimming around in there somewhere. And it's exposing yourself to new information.
Yes.
Being in spaces like this is so
Yes.
important. And then, like, heaps and heaps of tenderness and compassion.
Wow. That's beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And it's funny too, because like I guess subconsciously, without consciously thinking about it, like I needed this conversation.
I love that.
And I appreciate you taking the time to come here and speak with all of us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite.
Of course, because it's beautiful and it's one of those things like we talked about earlier. It's every single day. What rooms are you getting yourself into? Are you being uncomfortable or are you being comfortable? And uncomfortable is growth.
Yeah.
And the comfortable is it's great for a time. Go on vacation. Go be comfortable. Go relax. Go enjoy yourself. But it can't be every single day.
Well, and I like to think of it as spheres, like there's different spheres of life. So like I might feel really comfortable in, like if you have a partnership, I might feel really comfortable in my relationship with my kids. I might feel really comfortable with like how I'm tending to my body. But like, this work project is just like, whoa, I'm really uncomfortable in this,
Got it.
and so for me, it's like, don't be uncomfortable in all the places at once. Because that can be overwhelming to the system unless you're like, ready for a portal jump. And like lean on the places where there's always already strength and stability. And then, little by little, all of the areas elevate, so like there might be times when your relationship with your children needs more effort and focus. There might, and it kind of
I like that.
goes around like that.
I like that a lot because it makes a whole lot of sense because you'll have whatever you have going on with your business or your work life and then your personal health and like working out, eating healthy, what are you doing? Then you have your spouse or partner, then you have your kids, right? And then you have whatever the personal hobbies or what have you. And it's always this kind of balancing of all the things. But yeah, I feel like it is very important to have like a good stability or somewhat of it being consistent and comfortable from the perspective of like your kids or your partner, like so then you can have more help with okay, I got a lot going on at the company side, a lot of extra pressure. I'm glad that things are going well with the personal life. Can't be neglected. Like you still need to be there for your family and show up for them, and they need the love and the time and attention. And Five Love Languages, great book that'll give you a lot of tools. But I just that's what comes up for me in that sense.
Yeah, and always elevating, right? Well, the thing that it's reminding me of is my older son had a really intense season of suicidal ideation. I mean,
Really?
yeah, when he was 9, he's 10 now. He's doing a lot better, and I love that. But that's what it made me think of. Is like he really needed everything I had to give, right? And as a parent who's dealing with that, it's like it stretched my capacity so much.
Wow.
Like how do I navigate this with all of the things that I know to be true, right? Like not just shut down, right? Which is an
Yeah.
option of like I have no idea what to do here, So that's what I was thinking when I shared that, because and it's not, and even in our relationships, like we come to growth points, where it's like, so being able to have the wherewithal and the awareness to assess and doing that periodically, like where does my attention need to go actively, what can run on maintenance, and then
Wow.
adjusting periodically accordingly. And what you said about, and I because this is like kind of a sticking point for me, is like I don't want a life that I want to take a vacation from. Like when and it feels, and I get it, but it's like I don't live my life like that. When I am going to take a trip, it's like a pilgrimage, it's like, okay, I'm doing something for my development spiritually, whether that is just like being in pleasure, being in play, having that be the intention,
love
being
that.
able to like experience something new. I love traveling so much, but it's never a vacation from my life because my life is every moment.
Wow. That's so interesting. And I think I I feel like when you think about like majority of individuals that work a 9 to 5 that take a vacation, and it's something that's innately just inherent in us because we're like, well, I got so much vacation. It's in HR, it's in the handbooks, it's whatever. And then you take a vacation and you're taking a vacation from the work that you're doing that pays the bills that you need to pay. But then it's funny that you said that because then I was like looking at the other side of the coin. I'm like, man, yeah, when I'm like on vacation, like I'm pushing harder on my personal content or, meeting with the team to get to do more personal development with them. Like we're about to go to the Philippines here. October 6th, we'll be on a plane for 16 hours going to the Philippines to Manila and to Oceanica. Check it out. Oceanica,
So
Philippines.
impressed.
It's so
We're
cool.
so impressed with Norman.
Oh, you're too kind. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
I can't believe it myself that it all happened on
It's
accident. I
amazing.
didn't even expect it to happen, but you can go deeper or not as deep as you want with that concept. But I like the fact that like if you're in your calling and you really love what you're doing, then you don't need to really take a vacation from what is. I do feel that like there's something to be said to unplug
Yeah, for sure.
from technology. I think that's very important. But to completely turn off what you do to pay for your way of living.
Yeah, so that's come up multiple times in this conversation. Maybe I'll speak on it a little
Yeah.
bit, how I relate to money. And so this is the thing.
That's a whole other relationship.
It's a whole nother relationship. And just through the lens of how I work with it is like, you can't take it with you.
Mm.
You can't take it with you. So, and that doesn't mean that it's not a worthy pursuit. Absolutely. But what I hear when you say like we have to have money to pay bills, this is so true. It's so true, and it activates that piece in us that is like survive. I have to survive, and I think a lot of our culture operates in that, and we do trade time for money. And for me, it's about trading value for money. But how can you value like your life? Like how can I put a price on, my life? How can I put a price on like an insight or a transformation that you might have from hearing what I have to say about something or having my energy on your life. And so in that there's an invitation to just relate to it differently. And I think a calling, right? Like when I look out into the world, and this has been coming up a lot in the recent weeks, is like there's so much pain.
Yeah.
There's so much pain around money, and even when we have it, there's pain, like even when it's there and it's flowing and we're good, it's like, ah. And so if we take that like back into the framework, right? We don't suffer for the sake of suffering. We suffer so that it's not wasted. What is it here? How does it call us into our brilliance? And I think we're all going to have our own answers for that, but maybe like we're told that a certain amount of financial success means you're worthy as a person. That's what we're told. And so it's just an invitation to like check in with ourselves, like if we're chasing 7 figures or 8 figures in a business, like that's fantastic, but would you be happy with a 6-figure year?
Yeah.
And if you would, and that would be fulfilling to you, and you could execute at the level that you wanted to and express in other areas, then I mean that's something that's worth looking at.
I love that. And to give contrast to that, we're working on 6, 7, 8 figures now. And with that, it's not so much that I can't wait to get to the 8-figure marker because that's going to make me feel any different. What it does for me is it shows me that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
I have more to do, more to give, more to serve, and more to be able to take this ideologies and the thought process that I have to a whole nother level. And inadvertently, I'm kind of separating, even though it's together, and it comes together in a very methodical, interesting way. But like the spiritual woo-woo, whatever you want to call it, like now this podcast, right? Like here we are. Thanks, Jake. And so here we are. And when it comes to Liftoff Agent, like there's a need. and I'm serving and supporting, and I'm helping people from the perspective of the need. And then when I meet them, it's organically, it's not ads, it's
Yeah.
because of word of mouth, and then they get it and it makes sense, and we set intentions and understand where they're going, and then our team has their intentions for where they're going with their vision board and what have you. And it's magical because then the company gets to then get to where it wants to go, which is innovating an industry, $300 million exit, and all this crazy stuff that I want to do. And not just because, I look at like the whole money thing. It's just, it's monopoly. It's a game. It's just set up like that, and it's just for fun. And I'm so past that shit. I just want to be like, and yeah,
Mm.
whatever. I did it. Sure, there you go. Duh. Like, this is how you do it. But then also be on the other side, and I'm using the word but because when you say but, that mitigates the thing that you said before it. And I've heard you say and multiple times, not but, because you don't want to mitigate anything that was said before that. So be intentional with the words that you use. And so that's kind of how I look at it. But I feel like so many people have that. Like, I'll give you an example. God bless him. Joseph Constanza. He's my stepfather. He's been with my mom for like 25 years. He's living off 30,000 a year right now. And I'm going to be public with this because that's just who I am. And I'm saying this because I love him, because I want the best for him. And he is living in the world of comfort. But at the end of the day, he's not, because he's also struggling trying to live off $30,000 because he worked at a cable company, he worked 25 years, he took the package, and then now he's living off his retirement, 401k, whatever the case may be. He doesn't know what he wants to do, where he wants to work, and then COVID, and then the gym, and he stopped working out, and he's overweight and all the things.
Okay.
And so I sent him a message this week too, trying to be like, hey, dude, like, what's going on, bro? Like, come on. My mom's basically settling with you. She could do better. She's the most loving, kind, bubbly, amazing person. And he's just kind of like, blah. And I mean that from respect, because he used to be not that. And at some point in time, that it transitioned into that just kind of way of being, where we went up to South Lake Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Joseph, do we have a cake for my mom? No. Where are we going for dinner for my mom? 65th birthday, big deal. The whole family's in Tahoe. We're going to figure it out. Joseph, I'm going to go get a cake if you're not going to go get a cake. We need a cake for my mom, okay? Like, we need to know where she's going to eat. And my mom was just like, oh, it's good. We're going to enjoy. We're going to have fun. And like, yeah, Mom, you got like 20 of us, 25 people, and you just want to relax and just keep it chill. And everyone's just like, what's going on? Where are we going? What's happening? What's the plan? There's like no plan. My mom's just trying to just go with the flow. And so it was controlled chaos nonetheless. And it was funny. My team come back from that trip, and they're like, you look really tired. I'm like, oh my God, sucked all my energy out. But it's just like, oh my God. And so, not to go too far off left field, those are some thoughts that came up for me just from the fact that, like, I know there's a lot of people out there dealing with a mother or a father or a family or a situation where it's just like, you have the answers and you want to help them so bad, but you can't because it's where they're at. And you just have to meet them where they're at, accept them for who they are, and let them just be.
Yeah, what I hear in your share, and thank you for it, is a lot of frustration that your mom isn't treated the way that you think that she should be treated.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I feel that she feels that, like, I feel that she's settling, and she met him in the eyes of the Lord. And she feels that because she has dealt with whether it's physical or mental abuse in her life, that this is stratified. Like, this is so much better, that this is what she deserves. But she really doesn't know. And she even told me straight up she's in denial.
Yeah, and so can we just witness her journey? Because we don't know what
Yeah.
her path is about. We don't know what it's going to be like when she meets her maker, if she fell short or if she didn't. Like, what I hear is like the frustration in you of like, this is how it could be. Like, I can see it so clearly for you, but we can't want another person's healing more than they want it for themselves. And you know this, you said that, just let them be. But if it's causing, like, this is when it becomes our work. If it's causing a distortion in your own system, if it's causing activation and anger and frustration and, that's yours. That's not hers or his, that's yours. And so then it's like, okay, well, if this is mine, that means there's a path forward. As long as we're observing someone else and wanting them to do something different, we have no power.
Yeah.
And feels like, I mean, I've dealt with something similar
Hmm.
for sure, you know, and just observing people and being able to see how it could be,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
like, oh, and witnessing the gap. And the thing that is soothing for me is trusting, really trusting, you know, that like I can stay in my lane, I can work on myself, and and I can take responsibility for the ripple that I am meant to make in the world. And the people that are around me, we don't leave them behind. We hold a candle for their potential, you know, and we never know, but we just have it burning in the ethers. Like, you know, and so just like with your mom, every time that feeling comes up, outside of like unpacking it and pulling all of the threads, is just like, I'm holding a candle that she get what she need. I'm holding a candle that, you know, it be resolved in a way that makes sense for them,
Amen.
you know?
I love that. I love that. And yeah, I mean, I had to, you know, it is what it is. Let it be. Left at 22, you know, and just do my own thing. And, you know, we see each other and, you know, we have good times when it's just her. And, you know, I'm 50-50 if I really want Joseph back over here again, because the energy and he's on the couch and he's just eating snacks and watching TV the whole time. And God bless him. He's amazing.
But you get to make that decision,
Yeah.
you know, and you get to stand on it. And the thing that really shift things for me is, one, when I learned that my parents were human. You know, my parents are human and they're doing the best that they can. And two, it's like I get to define family, and I get to discern where my obligations are, where my duties are, where my time goes. All of that I am in control of, and I don't have to explain anything. Although there is, you know, like I love a challenging conversation, you know, like like let's go, let's be in
Yeah.
it, you know.
Amen.
And if people want to meet me there, then they will. But and it's about our identity, you know, like I had I had four dads,
Wow.
but by the time I was 13, and the first one ended up signing away his rights, which gives an idea of where his headspace was at.
Yeah.
The second one died in a really traumatic way. The third one I ended up in a courtroom with for an abuse situation, and the fourth one totally ignored me.
Wow.
So that was like my inheritance, you know, like in the masculine side of my life, and like what, you know, like what it means to be a father. And for a long time, the way that that translated was like really intense self-loathing, you know, of just like and I remember I was in fifth grade and I was out on the playground and at recess, and my teacher came up to me and she said, "Gemini, all of these kids want to play with you and you won't let them." And it was like a moment, you know, like it still stays with me, because it had never occurred to me. It had literally never occurred to me that other people would enjoy my company, or that other people would like me. Yeah, it is at all. I'm like, oh. So that was my inheritance, you know? And so, like, working through all of that and all of the desire of like, I wish this had been, you know, like everything that comes with that is now there's so much peace. You know, there's so much peace in my system. There's so much trust in my path, so much awareness of who I am in the world, and how I want to show up and what's important to me.
Wow. Wow. I'm right there with you at dad's too. I want to say I had biological father, and then my mom married Anthony, and that was the abusive, very challenging one at a very young age. And then after Anthony, she had like, I don't know, one, two, three boyfriends, and then Joseph. So I think it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never had really much of a father figure in my life, and so that's where I'm like taking on this role and doing the best I can with the tools that I have to become the best father that I can to my daughter. And I feel that doing a decent job, proud of
You're
myself.
doing great.
Appreciate that.
You're fucking nailing it. You're
Oh,
doing
you're
great.
You're
You
too
are.
kind.
No, like, sorry to interrupt you, but I do, like, you're doing the work. You're showing up. Like, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just receive that.
I think just being present, right? You know, more so than
Caring.
Yeah, fucking caring. And I like what you said just in regards to, and I just want to shine light on the fact that like you could set yourself around and be around anyone that you want. And I have this innate calling to be around those that, and you know, those that are listening, and also for you and myself, like we've been around and had conversations where you like walked away from the conversation, and we're like, let's go. Like you just felt like amazing, you know? And
Yeah.
other conversations, you're like, I think I need a cup of coffee.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm just exhausted right now. And so it's almost like you know, that energy could just be kind of sucked out of you. And I think that like it's one thing when it's one to one, and you know, Nico, and Nico is on our podcast, Real Estate First Technology. We're gonna get him back onto the Lift Off Experience podcast because the construct of what we're doing here has changed a bit. And he did a story yesterday in regards to energy and how like you can meet someone and what if someone's at a lower frequency than you, or the energy isn't where your energy is. But if you're like focused and you're deliberate and you're in your knowing of what you want to achieve, like your energy will then shine brighter in a sense than the other person that maybe is fragmented, or they want to go, maybe they're lower energy. Or you could take this concept and say, you know, you're having some success and you're doing what you're called to do, and then the person maybe isn't having maybe the amount of success that in your eyes you see is success for what your concept of success is. And so that's where it's like I want to stay around like-minded individuals that you're just like, yes, like you feel like you're like, this conversation is like, oh, you're being guided on your path. It's like, here, like Yellow Brick Road, right?
Yellow Brick Road. I
Which
love
is
that.
great compared to the contrary, where it's like sometimes, you know, I'll use like Alex Mosey. I have his hat over there, acquisition.com, and he talks about how he's totally just like his family. He's just like, nope, birthdays, holidays, nothing. I'm not even interested. He completely just here's your candle in a sense of what you're saying, right? And because yeah, when you're around your family and it's not just one to one, it's one to many,
Yeah.
I feel like drained.
Yeah. Witnessed, heard, and discernment, right? And those are cues. And then just taking the time to say, like, okay, like really, okay, it's my mom's 65th birthday. Yes.
No, I think it was
Um,
60th. It was
um,
60th. Sorry, mom.
yeah. She wants those 5 years back for
yeah,
sure.
for sure, for sure.
Like I'm going to this, and I'm going to need some extra rest and recharge time on the other side of it.
Yeah.
It's Sunday dinner. I'm going to skip that one because I have better shit to do. You know, and it's okay, and we can have like some
Yeah.
playfulness about it and some just discernment,
Yeah.
you know, but I love what you're bringing forward about paying attention to how you feel when you're spending time with people. You know, does it give you energy, or does it drain you?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, because I love there's something that I look at from the perspective of like manifestation. So when you manifest and you have these goals and you have these aspirations and you like plant these seeds, if you will, right? And they talk about like the bamboo tree, right? Plant the seed, takes 5 years for it to like grow, and the next thing you know, like from 0 to 5, nothing, and then from like 5 to 6, it's like, oh my god, 7 foot tall. And so this is great because I love taking some time for self and slowing down and being able to have beautiful moments that we can share. And then all of the thoughts, like in the morning I do like Wim Hof breathing with like red light therapy, and then I do sea salt water with lemon, and I have like, you know, I have my tea with She Legit, and then go to the gym and all this stuff. And then like this type of time, or when I go on vacation, I feel like the thought process of manifestation, the goals, what you have as far as that vibration or that thought process you put out there, manifests quicker when you're doing this.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Can we just, yes, and can we just acknowledge how great you take care of yourself? You take really good care of yourself. That morning routine is like,
I
dang,
appreciate you.
it's dialed in.
I appreciate you. Yeah, it's something that's taken some time, and sometimes my wife says like you're kind of like a little rigid, Norm. But it's because I know that like this is what I'm committed to and what I need because of how many sponsors from stress that I have, and life is crazy, and I've developed it and I accept it and I fucking love it. So I need that. I
Yeah.
need that. And it's fine, you know, Saturdays, Sundays, it doesn't always happen, or I'm on vacation, it doesn't always happen exactly like that. Okay, I'll just do my breathing. I don't have my She Legit, but I don't have my sea salt water with lemon, whatever. You know, still go to the gym. Maybe I'll go on a run with the wife or whatever if I'm like in Tahoe or something like that. But yeah, that's every day.
Yeah.
It's every day, bro.
Witnessed.
Yeah.
Celebrating you. But what you were
Appreciate
saying
you.
about being in that space of just a relaxed nervous system, and I've heard Nico talk about this as well, like having fun. Having fun makes the manifestation come quicker, because my experience as well is like, it's hard sometimes to take our energy off of the thing. And if our energy is on it, the way that Nico describes it is like we're just digging up the soil.
Ah.
Like we planted the seed of the manifestation, but now you're like, is it growing?
Oh, always checking. I like
Yeah.
that.
So if you can just get your energy onto something that is, like this, where it's like we're totally in the moment, not
Yes.
thinking about anything else,
Yes.
then all the things are working in our favor.
I love that. I love that. And I challenge everyone who's listening and viewing, like, put down that phone, like, just be present and just be.
After the podcast, after you finish listening, yes, put down your phone,
Correct.
go outside and ground.
Okay, I'm going back. I'm going back to your son and the suicide that you brought up,
Okay.
and I want to go deeper on the thought process of, do you feel that time was something that you needed to help you with what you're called to do?
Yes, I feel like I could have done without it, but like got the message. Yeah.
Because that's what comes up. I feel like life happens for us for a reason, and then Ryan said life doesn't just happen. You can happens to you, for you, or you can go through it. And so I love that too. It's very deep and almost like over my head. But thinking about like your son and what happened, just the thought of like, man, like the journey that you're on,
Yeah.
and the degree that you have, and then the boys that you have, and for one of your sons to go through that, and for you to be in the space that you're in, it was almost like,
Yeah, I was really thankful actually when it was all happening. I mean, there was a moment when I was scared.
of
for
course,
because it's like,
don't want to lose
wow,
your
like
son.
that, and like, is this like, like I feel a little in over my head for this conversation,
Wow.
But I really like what was helpful was leaning into what I know to be true, and so I shared with him a couple of things. I just was very real with him, and I said, look, man, if you aren't for this world, like if you really aren't for this world, then there's nothing I can do about that. Like I cannot make you want to live more than you want to live.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I said was, I see that you're suffering. I see that you're suffering, and I'm here for you, and that's hard. And I am the wall of love. I'm the wall of love that you can beat yourself against, not hurting me. Not like you can't lash out at me. You can't disrespect me, but I will stand here in it with you as long as it takes. And it cleared. It took some days and some weeks, but there was like a 2-day period where it was just really intense. Like he threatened to run away from home. He told me that he was going to get a knife from the kitchen and stab himself. Like really graphic, really like, and screaming at me. So there was a lot of intensity to it, and the medicine in that moment is just to like stand my ground. Like to tell him to not do it or to do it, to just stay like neutral and solid of like, bro, I hear you. I hear that you are in pain.
Wow.
I see it,
Wow.
And then it started to trickle. I started to really notice it comes up a lot with clients. Either that they have had experiences of attempting suicide, they have had experience of suicidal ideation, which is a little bit more the tricky one because nobody sees that one. It's like, but it's like inside our own psyche, and we're walking around wondering, like, oh my God, I'm crazy, and what do I do? And it's important. It's valuable information, and for me, the way that it lands is like, not only is there suffering that the system doesn't know how to, like, it can't make sense of it, but it's also, I've come to relate to it as this experience of an aspect of the self dying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I think what you said is very eye-opening for me, and I can imagine for people out there too, because it's so easy to think that like call 911,
Yeah.
or find a therapist ASAP, and or
The Healthline.
Healthline, or like, and I'm not saying that like that's not what to do. I'm just saying that it's an interesting construct and just a concept to think that like if you just can just hold out with
Mhm.
being irrational and making any calls. Not saying that you're not being rational, just saying that like it's very powerful to sit with it
Yeah.
like you did and just be that wall of love, which you explained at like, hey, I hear you, I understand, I'm listening, and you're in a lot of pain. And it just sounded like it was just like his emotions,
Living it. Yeah.
he was living it, and he had to like get it out. It was almost like, you don't feel good, your tummy hurts, you're throwing it up.
Yeah.
He was throwing it up just with mouth
Love
vomit,
that.
going through what he's going through. So that's very, very interesting. Because yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that probably deals with that.
Yeah. And, I just want to disclaimer, if you need to call somebody, call somebody. If you need to call the hotline, call the hotline.
Amen.
For sure. Like we don't do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And what I want to bring to the conversation is like, for lack of a better word, normalizing it. Just making it something that is accessible. It is part of the human experience. It doesn't mean that we are terrible people, and it doesn't mean that we should act on these ideas. It really is like, can we sit with it, and can we get curious, and can we see it as a call to greatness?
I love that. I love that. How are we doing back there, Jake? How are we on time? We're doing pretty good over here, huh? Hour 33. We're actually doing really good, and I hope you guys are all enjoying our show. If you can do us a favor and like it and subscribe, that'd be amazing. And if you want to share this with anybody, it's one thing for us to share this with you specifically. It's another thing. I feel like there's something powerful with sharing something so vulnerable with someone else that maybe needs to hear it. And if you're someone out there that doesn't feel like you have the tools, the resources, or the voice to be able to try to serve someone, but there's something in this episode that could help somebody that's going through one of the constructs or one of the conversations that we went through, I think that's beautiful in itself.
Heard.
Outside
Amplified.
outside of like, money or, oh, we want to get so many views here, whatever else. It could just be one person for all I care.
Yeah, it is one person. That's what it's about always. Is
Always.
that one person. I mean, for me, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
If it lands for one person, then it's worth it.
Yeah. Part of our legacy here.
Yeah, legacy. I love that word, and something that's really like integrated into my legacy, but that is important for me to live into, is to leave people better than I found them. And
Amen.
that is like one interaction at a time.
Amen. And I love thinking about legacy outside of just the construct of monetary value.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that like, oh, leave your legacy and yada, yada, yada to your family. And then like, that's something that's used for like the life insurance industry, for like leave a legacy, which could be money, like from a life insurance policy. If you're not like an entrepreneur or you haven't invested money and you don't have like a 401k or stocks and bonds, annuities and that type of stuff. But more importantly, it's the legacy that you would live. For me, when I look at legacy, I'm thinking like, how many hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, show up to my funeral?
I love that.
That's my legacy.
Yeah.
That's my moment for people to be like, holy fucking shit.
Norman lived an amazing life.
Outside of the views and the subscribers and all the fucking bullshit, because those are vanity metrics. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how deep did you go with the person?
Yeah.
To leave a mark where they're like, man, he said this one thing, he did this one thing, it was this one time. And then that story is something that they can share with someone else and share with someone else and share with someone else. And it's just a compound effect. And then, did my part. I'm out of here.
I love that.
Deuces. So we've gone, all over the universe. This has been a whole lot of fun, went into different directions. But I do want to hold space for you from the perspective of anything that a calling, something that's coming up for you, something that maybe you want to shine lights on, or questions that you have, or whatever it is. Hour and 36 here on my side, I think hour 41 on his side. Viewers and listeners, you have no idea when we're going to stop this. Normally it's around 2-hour mark, but we always leave them hanging at the end of the show, which I love. They just don't know. Yeah, they don't know when it's going to be stopped. So I just want to hold space for you in that sense, because I've asked a lot of questions and kind of guided a little bit, and you have as well. But is anything coming up for you?
Yes, I think so. First, just that's funny about the not knowing when it's gonna end, when it's going to end, and so I was thinking about watching because I'm gonna watch it whenever you post the one later this week, and I was like, oh, that'll be interesting. It could be over already, right?
It could be. You don't even know. We could just be talking with one another. See, that's the thing about with like the liftoff experience. It's different because there doesn't need to be an intro like every other intro. There doesn't need to be an outro like every other outro. This does not need to be constructed in a sense where it needs to be like, here's our SOPs and KPIs. Going to make sure we're focusing on income producing activities today to maximize the monetary value of this podcast.
That's intense. I feel like that's a big chunk of your life.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It is.
All right, let's wrap it around because I really love the concept of your vision, and I love the language. Language is really important to me, like lift off. And so I've spent a lot of time this last week feeling into just how I view, like I mentioned, having a lift off lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also looking at my life through the lens of liftoff moments, and I pick them out personally, professionally, and spiritually, and so I'll share those if there's if there's desire for it. And what was interesting, just as like an overarching thing, is that they're like not necessarily joyful moments. You know, like when I hear liftoff, I'm like buoyancy and light and like,
yeah,
you know, forward momentum and blast off, let's go. But those, like when I reflected, I was like, they weren't those kind of moments, you know, like they were, I mean, they're cool moments, but all right, I'm going to start off with spiritually because this is one of my favorite stories, and it's had a big impact on just how I view myself and how I view the world. So I got done with my degree in religious studies, and a series of events happened. I say that because I still wasn't dialed in on what spirituality meant for me. Like I had a really great academic and scholarly body of work around religion, but I didn't know how it integrated into everyday life. And one of my favorite things to do on big birthdays is to go somewhere new. And so for my Jesus birthday, we call it 33 is a Jesus birthday.
Oh, I love it.
I bought a ticket to Bali. So I was like, I'm going. I didn't know where I was going to stay. I just was like, if I buy the ticket, then I will get on the plane. And I went by myself, and I ended up becoming friends with the staff of the hotel that I was staying at, and they had another property where they were building a new kitchen, and they invited me to come stay for the blessing ceremony of it. And the holy man came in, and he's like all dressed in white, and just very like you would think a holy man is, solemn and stoic, and he starts doing all of his prayers and chanting, and he's like holding flowers, and we're sitting there watching him, and it's this beautiful, beautiful ceremony. And the entire time his cell phone is sitting right next to him. And I just had this moment of like, that's how it works. Like he put down the flower and picked up the phone, because in my mind they were so separate of like spirituality lives in a spiritual realm, and then profane life, modern world lives in a different realm. And so seeing the cell phone in that ceremony, I was like, wow, it's like, it's both.
Do you mind if I actually say something really quick?
Yeah, please do.
I am actually under the, I'm under the belief that the physical realm and the spiritual realm are of equal importance. And I think a lot of spiritual people tend to do this thing where they'll kind of like put down the physical. It's below them. They're out of this plane of existence. But I think it's all one. It should be respected as such. And the fact that he was able to perform that ritual, probably with grace and beauty.
Yeah, so much.
Regardless of his phone being right there. Which does seem a little bit awkward, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think that takes away at all from like the spiritual aspect of what he was doing.
Yeah, that was my observation as well. And thank you for sharing.
I love that liftoff moment there. That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. So then, like, was he like checking his phone during it? It was just there.
No, it was just there. I don't know. I mean, there was a period of time where I was like hyper focused on him, but then
Okay.
there was like, we had to go do other things. Like we had to go bless the land with the water that he had blessed and stuff like that. And so we were like running around dancing. So I'm sure he was on his phone at some point. He checked his phone before he started,
Hmm.
but there wasn't any like, it wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't like, there wasn't anything about it,
Yeah.
It was just like, I am holy and I use my phone. Like,
Oh shit, it's
like,
2024.
yeah, like this is how we move. But it totally changed. I remember coming back and just being like, oh, it's both. Like there's no line between.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that. It was beautiful too that that Jake had, that moment with us and how it was beautifully intertwined.
Yeah.
So that's your first one. I love it.
Okay. Yeah, that's spiritually. And it's interesting when I was considering like I just went with sort of the first things that came up and
Hmm.
it's like, oh, they all
Like-
weave together,
Okay.
well, it's like this one's spiritual and this one's professional and this one's
Yeah.
personal, but personally, it was becoming a mom, but not just
Mm.
like becoming a mom. When I realized that I was the leader, that like I had to make the decisions and that he would learn more from what I did than what I
Okay.
said.
Okay.
And then professionally so I was in the hospitality industry for a really long time.
Okay.
And I had started to notice I would be talking to people and they would just take notes, like at the table, like, oh, let me write that down. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I was talking to this guy one day. I just finished my life coaching cert and I was chatting with him and he's like, I think you can help me. And we ended up working together, but I was so like underdeveloped in my skill that I couldn't take money. And so we ended up trading sessions for a vacuum.
Really?
For what?
A vacuum?
Oh, I thought you said
Liftoff moment. We're bartering here.
Yeah, bartering. Isn't that funny?
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I think when you think about the liftoff moment, like personally, professionally, and spiritually, it's more so like a story that can be tied into maybe that construct of a personal time, professional time, or spiritual side.
What do you mean time?
Like when you think like when you had liftoff personally, professionally, and spiritually, like those are just like
A season?
those are seasons in your life, or
Got it.
I was saying times, but season in your life of like where you had something that happened to you, where we have lift off moments more than just 3 times in those segments. Just like what's the most like I guess predominant or that come up for you the most in that sense. And then I love how you said that like it isn't always like this like beautiful oh my god moment of liftoff. It's more so of the time of like, and I feel like it's the struggles, it's the pains that like when you come on the other side of that struggle or pain, then that's when you have like that beautiful moment of liftoff in between the pain and the struggle, and then like the awakening moment where then you're on the other side of like, oh my god, how beautiful, now I get it.
What can you share a liftoff moment?
Okay. We'll make it really pertinent to this podcast. We're in Vegas, and I'm with Jacob, and it was a crazy trip. It was a lot of fun, and he was like, "Why?" He's like, "You got to change that name, real estate versus technology. Why don't you like change the name? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it, the real estate side and whatever else, but it should be something." And this has happened multiple times as far as this like change this name thing. One of my clients as well over in Hawaii said something too. Actually, was I flew out to Hawaii and had him on the podcast, like brought my little stuff. It was pretty cool. And so I talked to my business partner and I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm thinking about changing the name and this and that. And he's like, why don't you just add two? Like, why don't you just like add a podcast, like add another one? And which was funny when he asked me, like, are we keeping the old one? I'm like, you told me to add another podcast. Like, what do you mean? So the liftoff moment was like when I came to a position where I was like, okay, real estate versus technology was birthed from Dan Gandy, who was our co-host for a long time.
Mhm.
And he did probably 300 episodes with me, and he was our vice president at Liftoff Agent. And he was supposed to help scale and grow the organization and what have you. But the frequency of energy and maybe conversations that we had, we were just on different pages. And when we say like frequency, You can look at it as like just being on a different page than
Yeah.
someone else.
I like that.
And right, because like how do you make it in layman's term for someone who's spiritually just starting to maybe see and starting to explore this whole construct of what we're kind of diving into on the show. And so he left because he thought the grass was green on our side, and then he came back, and then he was like helping at a time to like take over the sales division, and then like that didn't work out, and then he had to go back to the social department, and then like he's like, I don't ever see anyone in the Philippines being able to take over this position 100%, and blah blah. Well, it's happening now. And so then his grandfather was in real estate and what have you. So then he, had always had aspirations to do something in that world as far as being an investor and what have you. So it kind of sucked, but I was also very grateful for it because of me, I feel like, or I was just a catalyst in the process, not because of me, just a part of his process and his journey. He started to film more content. Then he found a partner, and then he bought a smaller mobile home park, which I have aspirations to buy as well. And then he started to get his real estate license. And so he started to evolve within Liftoff Agent, and we're paying him a salary. At the same time, he's supposed to help us with our company. Oh, don't worry, it's fine. I'm still this, that kind of thing. And we maybe didn't set intentions and everything 100% to the point that it needed to, because you're working on and in, and it's just so much stuff happening all at once. And, multiple positions cause multiple variables that cause different things to happen where like, it's one thing to say you want to do ABC as far as a goal. It's another thing to set goals for other people within the organization to keep them wanting to stay with you through the journey, because that's what people want. They want clarity as far as not just with the company's growth, but like, what are they doing? What's their role? What's their position in this thing? So, Liftoff didn't work, and he started to just go off on his own, which was fine. And so he was doing his thing, and then we kept on doing this RE versus Tech podcast together. And currently we haven't had a conversation, and I'm now slowly but surely now just doing it on my own. And I have been past so many episodes with, the Liftoff sponsored real estate focused podcast, Real Estate versus Tech. And now here we are with the Liftoff Experience podcast. And so the Liftoff moment was like, seeing that chapter, that door needed to be closed to open the next one. And from 415, 16, 20, I don't know, episodes now, seeing the light and being like, okay, it's now time to like step out of this construct of this real estate world, to build relationships, to earn business and all the things, to like go deeper. And I feel like now I have an intention to set, as far as I feel like there'll be even more success to be had, because this is the next level of being my true, authentic, vulnerable self from the perspective of this construct of this podcast, to show people that there's a whole nother level that no one's tapped into before.
We need the sound effect.
We have liftoff. No, I appreciate you. I'm gonna give you some buttons over there too. That's the next step.
That was beautiful.
Give you some buttons, awesome buttons. But no, I appreciate that. I really do, because diagnosed learning disability, dyslexic, reading and writing not being my jam.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun to get to a point where I could be a master of words.
Witnessed.
So that's been my jam, is to how to articulate and to navigate with that. So yeah, I appreciate you and your knowledge, acknowledgement. So that's my Liftoff moment.
I dig it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure. Jake, when's yours?
My liftoff moment?
Yeah, bro. When's the Liftoff moment for you? Just anything.
I've had my liftoff moment, geez Louise, in what? Because that could go a bunch of different.
You pick, bro. Liftoff moment in life, man. You want to go personal? You want to go spiritual? You want to go business? Personal?
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
So when I was 15, I had a serious bout of suicidal depression. I was having like a severe existential crisis. So I was like really deep into taking psychedelic drugs at this time. And I had never really considered, I guess, what it meant to be alive or dying. And I had an experience where I was, I felt like what it might feel like to die. And it kind of freaked me out. So I kind of started like losing my mind a little bit after that. And like I lost all motivation to do anything. Like I was sleeping on the bathroom floor. 3, 4, 5 days. Like, legitimately no energy at all. Like, it was the most difficult time of my life. And it was weird because I had this calling after like the second day, I think, of sleeping on the bathroom floor. And I had more acid in my room. And it's weird because it gave me that experience, right? But the way I've always looked at things is like, that's actually a good experience. And like, as difficult as it is and was at the time. And it helped me get over like dumb things in my life before. Like, it had helped me process like a breakup. Like stupid things like that, right? So I was like, well, I want to kill myself right now, so I can like do that and like lay on the bathroom floor. Or I guess I can try this like last resort, you know? Mindset at the time. And so yeah, I took that tab of acid in my mom's apartment just by myself, in my room. And I stayed up all night. I watched this show on Netflix called Midnight Gospel. I don't know if either of you are familiar with who Duncan Trussell is.
Mm-mm.
You know what I just realized? For some reason, my mic's off.
Turn it back on, bro.
I don't know those things.
We can hear you. We can hear you a little bit over here. Editors, we're gonna have to turn that up.
Yeah, editors just
Turn me up. Okay. Oh, there we go. I got it back on. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, I went ahead and I took it, and I watched a show on Netflix called Midnight Gospel. It was made by Duncan Trussell and the creator of this other show that I grew up watching called Adventure Time. And Duncan Trussell's an extremely spiritual guy and also a very famous stand-up comedian. I found out about him from watching like Joe Rogan's podcast. And that's how I heard about the show. And I kind of heard like, you should watch it while you're on psychedelic drugs. Like, that's like probably a good idea because that's kind of how it was made. And so I ended up watching the entire show, and the way that show is laid out is each episode is about some aspect of life, right? So if I remember, the first one is about like political unimportance, essentially, like why like being politically active is probably a bad idea, actually, and irrelevant to your life. And then like there's an episode on like magic and meditation and religion and love and death and all these like, you know, very deep topics. And they're actually clips from his podcast that were just like animated and like cut up, right? And I remember I finished the show like as the sun was coming up, and I like went out on my balcony, just like watched the sunrise, just like cried my eyes out. Wow. And I went back to the bathroom floor because like it's not magic. But I felt like for whatever reason I had the tools all of a sudden to like make it past that time I was going through. So I spent the rest of my time listening to books, so like audiobooks, because I didn't even have the motivation to like physically read them. So I started reading a lot of books by Damien Eccles, who I've told Norman about, John Dee, Aleister Crowley, and a lot more philosophy too, like Neville Goddard, Friedrich Nietzsche, just a whole bunch of philosophy, because I kind of realized like the reason that I was so depressed was I was lost. Like I didn't have a purpose, and like I didn't for me there was nothing but death. That's all I could see, right? So I was just trying to gauge other people's perspectives, I guess. And yeah, I spent the next until now consuming that content and growing as a person, and that was definitely like the most impactful night of my entire life.
Beautiful.
Yep. It's not even close.
Thanks for sharing on the fly like that.
of course.
Yeah, definitely. And that's intense, man. And it's, welcome back from the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
And I'm going through a pretty bad bout of suicidal ideation right now. So,
Yeah.
and I know I have the
Witnessed.
Yeah. And there's always going to be different levels.
That's so powerful, though. I know I have the tools to handle it.
I love that.